Hey everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. So for those of you looking for updates on Aloha, his cardiologist appointment went fine. Basically, they just confirmed, yes, he has very high T4 levels, so he has hyperthyroidism, but that everything else is pretty much either a symptom of that and is not severe, or there isn't anything happening. Like, he's not at risk for a clot. He can perfectly go under anesthesia. He's just got a little bit of swelling in the heart, and they said that that will probably go down as his thyroids go down. So I have another appointment in 6 months. So overall, it went good. Thank goodness for that, because I haven't really felt like making content. I've been stressing over that. When that was done, I didn't really feel like doing it the rest of the week, so I didn't do State of the Realm. I did start working on the caster verses. That's actually about halfway done at this point. I've really got to crank that out alongside tank healer and melee verses, because then if I have to update it throughout the patches, I want them all out before 7.1. So that's what's going on with me. Other than that, just finished Visions of Mana. Probably going to do a short video on that, maybe like an actual short video as well as a shorts video. And I think I'm just going to put them on this channel. The whole second channel thing, like, it was a good idea, but honestly, I think I'm too lazy to do. As one person managing everything, I think I sometimes overestimate my ability to commit to certain ideas. It's happened a lot over the years, and then as soon as something pulls me away from it, it just gets tough. So that's what I've got going on for this week. Expect the caster versus, expect a Visions of Mana video, and a potential under 60-second short, as well as a post over on TikTok. And I'm actually working on PlayStation trophies in Final Fantasy XIV. I have most of what I need for the Platinum Trophy on PS5, and I can already get the Platinum Trophy on PS4. But in December, for my 34th birth month celebration, I suppose, after I'm done with Ultimate, whenever that comes out, I'm going to be trying to play through as many of the mainline Final Fantasy games and collect the Platinum Trophies for all the ones that I don't already have. So that means I won't be playing Final Fantasy XII, because I already have the Zodiac Age one, 15, 16, 7 Rebirth, 7 Remake, all of which I already have the Platinum for. I think World of Final Fantasy I have the Platinum for. But then, like, 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster, I don't. 7, 8, 9, I definitely don't. 10,000 kills in 9, plus Excalibur 2. Oh, God, there's so many in 9 I hate. 10's going to be a disaster with the Sphere Grid. I've never wanted to cheat so bad. That's not true. The Final Fantasy 9 jump ropes are certainly cheat worthy. Like, I've never wanted to cheat so bad versus the jump ropes and Final Fantasy 10 filling in all the Sphere Grids, but we'll see what happens, I guess. But yeah, that's planned for December, so I'm doing the collectible stuff, the crafting and gathering collectible stuff in 14 right now, so that's on my agenda until 16 PC comes out. And then also we have Metaphor next month. If you haven't seen that video with my hands-on thoughts on it, be sure to check it out. Romantic Saga 2 is next month. We have Fantasian sometime this winter, I believe. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming up. So with that, let's get on to the Q&A. I didn't peek ahead this time, so I have no idea. Last week I was like, oh, the questions, I feel like I'm not going to do a good job. And there was like 1 or 2 questions I wasn't like good with. So I decided not to even look ahead this week. So anyway, thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. Nobody has to support, just commenting on this video, liking this video, engaging with this video, more than enough. But if anyone decides to support anything extra through like, what's it called? Like the hyper chat, super chat, whatever the heck it's called when you do it on a comment section, or Patreon or whatever. It's appreciated, but never expected. Anyway, let's get started with the Q&A. Kind of long intro. All right, this one didn't have a hashtag, but I was curious because it just said, hello, my Mrhappy Monday question. Like, I saw that as I was scrolling by. It's about limited jobs. Why is, well, hi, by the way, hello. I was so taken aback by the lack of a hashtag and the exclamation marks. I couldn't absorb it. Why isn't limited jobs able to do current patch content instead of only 2-year-old content? Because then they wouldn't be limited. You'd just be able to join with any piece of current content, and they'd just be able to do it. Other than Ultimates, of course. So limited has to mean that they are segmented off from participating in current content. That's like the key aspect of limited as a whole. On top of being segmented off other specific contents that they can't queue into, like Criterions and Deep Dungeons and Ultimates and stuff like that. So it just wouldn't make sense, because then people would have to consider bringing Blue Mage into current tier content. It wouldn't be limited anymore. And I can bet your ass they probably would take Blue Mage into current content if it was available. So that's not going to happen. Hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. First, I should start with a hello. Thank goodness you said hello. after, like that was the bait. It was first I should start with a hello. No, first just say hello and then that, because that was scary for me for a second. Hi. Hope you're having a good week since the last one. The cats are well fed and well happy. No, I'm happy. Besides 11 and of course 14, what other MMOs have you played? Have you played other significant amounts? Pretty much only single players aside from Final Fantasy. I played World of Warcraft throughout most of Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and the start of Cataclysm. I tried to go back briefly and I want to say BFA? It was either BFA or Legion, but I honestly, I played a little bit of the beta and realized, no, definitely still World of Warcraft. I've also played Silk Road Online extensively. It's a really old Korean MMO. And then I've like dabbled in stuff like Granado Espada, Hero Online, Flif, RO. I played Maple Story 2 when that came out for like a month. I played Blade and Soul for like 4 or 5 months when it came out. I played Black Desert for an hour and said, this shit's terrible. What else? I played ESO a little bit. I've done some sponsored streams for ESO, and I've played it a little bit on my own. I played Guild Wars 2 a lot when it first came out, and then for like a few weeks after Heart of Thorns came out. I haven't been back to it since, but I hear the most recent bit is really, really good. And then there's definitely a few others in there. Mabby Noggy. I remember playing Mabby Noggy. Man, I feel like I'm forgetting one or two in there. I'm sure I am, but I think you get the idea by this point. I've played quite a few. Any lessons from those games that CS3, isn't it? Is it CS3 now? Creative Studio 3? Yeah, that's what it is now. Yeah, better glam system. No matter how many times I get asked a question like this, the answer is always going to be the glam system, please. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope your little social stream, I checked it out, and it was super cozy. Oh, yeah. The one, well, I did 2 of them. I did one with Kiko and one with Midnight. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was wondering if you have any thoughts about this, but it feels like oftentimes in my corner, people grow up and see beyond smoke and mirrors of childhood, whether it's all kind of media or just life, and just disappointed to some extent, and especially nostalgic. Do you still feel... I don't know what I just read. And see beyond smoke and mirrors. Are you just asking if I've maintained any of my childhood, like for example, that Santa Claus is real? No, I didn't have that when I was young. I was like, hey, Mom, I'm putting my tooth under the pillow. Sure hope the tooth fairy comes and gives me something. Or, hey, Mom, I'm sure Santa Claus... Since I was like 5, I've been doing that. And my parents never told me. My friends never even told me. I'm just like, no, you're not going to get me with that. So no, I never had childlike wonder, dude. I was way too literal and way too straightforward to ever really have that in the first place. Oh my goodness, this is a lot of text. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. I've been wanting to ask for a couple of weeks now. Wasn't sure how to word it. Well, you certainly figured out a lot of words for it. Feel like I've been really struggling to get my clears in Savage and the PF. Welcome to Party Finder. Started the tier late at the end of the second week. That's not that late. Trying to get my clears for M1 and M2. I joined about 6-ish clear parties after seeing Enrage. Spent an hour or 2 in each, but none of them ever managed to clear. Definitely sounds like PF. Most of them only saw Enrage once or twice. Definitely sounds like PF. By a few specific, usually caused by a few specific players in each of the parties. Sounds like PF. I only managed to get my clears for both M1 and M2 after putting up with a 1 re-clear party at the beginning of a new week. I had a similar experience in Asphodelis, but I quit raiding altogether for Endwalker after getting frustrated not clearing P2. My questions are, assuming static isn't an option, am I getting unlucky? Am I being too impatient? Should I be leaving trap parties sooner? Is this just a normal experience? And you're raiding on materia. I think we found the real cause of the problem. The number of players who stay on materia who are of a higher quality is not as high as many people would like. Now, that being said, without witnessing the parties and without witnessing your actual play, I'm not ruling you out as being the potential problem here. It would be ignorant of me to say anything except this is just the normal experience, especially when you're on materia. So it is what it is. Some groups can do it, some groups can't. Sometimes the problem child, figures their thing out and doesn't screw up a pull, and sometimes they never do. So it's literally just a matter of pushing through with patience. So technically, all of your questions are yes, 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 and yes to all 4 of the questions there. What are your thoughts on general sentiment for clear for one? I think that clear for ones are fine as long as the person who's making it isn't the one. I think it's really selfish to say clear for one and you're the only person in the party, because then it's screaming, come help me. I'm sick of all these other PFs. I deserve the win. Come give me the clear. That's not cool. If you're doing it for somebody else, that's different. I'd also say people have way too many hangups about getting loot on their first clears. Get your weekly clear through whatever you need to do. Join a zero chest or a one or like a zero loot or a one loot party. Join somebody else's clear for one that has a few other people that need to clear. Don't just join 2 chests and want loot. Get the clear so you can join re-clear groups in the following weeks instead of first clear groups, because that's what you actually still need. So yeah, and then as for improving your own gameplay, I mean, without seeing you play, I can't point out specifics, but practice is really all that ever is. You're ready to use XIV analysis. You're already working on your positionals. You clearly care, so you're already taking the steps that you need, and that's more than most people do. So you're already doing the right stuff. Just keep doing that. Hello. Hi. I hope all is well. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. The hashtag after the hello. I like it. Question first. Do you think Square Enix might remove caster DPS reses in 8.0? Honestly, they should have removed them this expansion. It's done no good for the role. It's only further divided them because nobody cares about it enough because Pictomancer is just too strong. Hopium Copium is 40-second swift cast freeze at more instant reses and recovery prog, easing us into... No, just give caster... Okay, let me put it this way. Get rid of res being for specific casters. Make it a roll action with a cooldown. That's it. Just give it to all of them, but make it so that it has a cooldown. So Red Mage doesn't have this like weird dual cast strength and swift cast for Summoner. You don't have to worry about it being something that's like, oh, we used it on Slipstream because I'm in the middle of my 2 minutes, or... You don't want to have to worry about all that. Just make it a roll action with a cooldown. All the casters can do it. And then you can work out like everything else about the jobs. They're on even footing. You can balance them all around. You don't have to think about that anymore. Just get rid of it being something that belongs to specific casters, or get rid of it altogether for all I care. Hashtag Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. As a former White Mage main for all of Endwalker and newly converted Astro, proud of you, for its place in the meta and my disappointment in how the job has grown both, I've had to consider what would make me love the job again. I love the healing... Hello, mouse. I love the healing throughput, but the infrastructure of the game today, it seems a bit dated. That's because it is. What are your thoughts on the job boosting max HP to better take advantage of this? As an example, Plenary giving plus 10 max HP to all affected. I'd still rather just have Mint. Like, honestly... The fact that neutral sect exists, macrocosmos exists, and there's very, very few scenarios where something like a Cure 3 spam with thin air is ever going to be like a dominant fact. Like most of the time you're planning everything out, and I'd rather plan out stuff that has a mix of healing and mitigation than a mix of, or just pure healing, or like there's only a few things. Like, I don't know. I think Plenary is something you can do something with, and you could do this to it, but it just doesn't have the same kind of tools any of the other healers have. Is it enough? Sure. Can you work with it? Absolutely. Can it clear everything? No doubt. But it always feels like it's one step behind. Like even their new ability, their AoE shield they get after using their wings, it's so silly. Like 20 seconds of that is MIT. And then that means you have 10 seconds after to activate the shield, or you overlap the two. And it's like, I'd rather just have these be two different things. Like, I don't want them to be like tied to one another. You know what I mean? It's just, there's a lot that they could probably do to White Mage, but I'll let White Mages talk about that and not me. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hello. I'm curious how long Arcadian 1 through 4 will be BIS, or more accurately, how long until 5 through 8 are released. I will tell you right now when to expect 5 through 8, and I believe the answer is April. Let's see. Let me go to my calendar. So the approximate guesstimation is that 7.1, which will not change best in slot for the most part. Yes, the ultimate weapon will take over being the best weapon, but for the large part, it doesn't matter. That's November 12th. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, March 25th, actually, if my math is correct. Yeah, March 25th. Would be the expected time within like a week or two, like some variance in there, but around that time of 2025 would be when you should expect 5 through 8 to be released. So you have plenty of time. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. I was not here for when Eureka came out for the Baldesion Arsenal, but it has been one of my favorite experiences in the game. The entirety of both exploration zones has been my favorite part of 14, to be honest. Started the game during Shadowbringers, so I only got to experience Zadnor on release. Since y'all didn't have guides for BA when it was new, I'm curious how time-consuming it was to progress through with that many players and what we should mentally prepare for if we got another BA style. We'll probably never get anything exactly like BA again. They think they learned their lesson, and that's why... while Baldesion Arsenal is the more participated in Raid, I think they very much don't want the kind of the conundrum it created with like its presence in the zone and how it warps the zone, and like the zone kind of has to be focused entirely around its completion because it hinders half of the people. Like half of them are inside, half of them aren't. The ones outside have to help the ones inside, etc., etc. So I wouldn't expect that. I also wouldn't expect down leveling, which was another major part. Every time you failed in BA, everybody lost the level. So everyone had to re-level before you could go back in, which didn't take long, but it's, you know, it's still annoying to have to do, you know. I mean, it wasn't any different than like a normal raid. You go in, you pull, you get information, you go over that information, and then you find an instance where you can all go back in, and you all go back in. It's not really any more complicated than that. The most complicated thing was figuring out absolute virtue. And that was just a back and forth information trading between a JP group that was progressing BA and our group that was progressing BA. And yeah, that was all it took. I mean, I was part of the world first group, and a lot of it was just the hardest thing was managing that many people and coordinating that. But the actual like progression wasn't really that bad. You know what I mean? It's honestly just like get players that can at least look after themselves and then just have somebody shot call, and that's kind of the end of it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Mr. Haps. Hi, do you like bagels? I am from New Jersey. Of course I like bagels, but only bagels from the Northeast because bagels everywhere else suck. Toasted with cream cheese? Nah, dude, gotta have a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, baby, on a bagel. Give me the bagel. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Happy Mister. Hello. I would like to ask how RDPS works for jobs with no party buffs on the FF logs. The formula they use is RDPS is equals DPS minus damage gained from other externals, others' external buffs plus damage given to others by your own external. I'd like to know, how does a job like Viper thrive so much in RDPS even higher than jobs with party buffs? Because it does that much damage. Like, it just means that after other jobs' damage contributions have been sacrificed, that they just do that much. That's all there is to it. It's just the math. I mean, do that exact calculation. You can see the job's ADPS. You can see how much it's getting from the other jobs, and then how much the other jobs are doing ADPS-wise, and how much they're gaining. And you just see the numbers. That's literally just how the numbers work. There's nothing more to it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi. First time asker. Welcome. If they do add a new tank in 8.0, very likely, do you think they'll have another invuln cooldown from all the other tanks? I mean, they'll definitely have an invuln. Right now we have 4, 5, 6. No, they're not gonna. No, that would be silly. They're just gonna make it like 4, 5, or 6 minutes. I don't see any. Yeah, I mean, you said it right afterwards. We can't really have a 3 or 8 minute cooldown. It would be horrible. Yeah, and I also agree that Hallowed Ground shouldn't even be 7 minutes. It should be 6 minutes. So the only reason it's not is because Bolide reduces your health. Hallowed is just like, I'm staying at my health. I'm completely invincible. There's no downside, so I have a 7 minute cooldown. I don't even think Bolide should be 6. I think Bolide should be 5. Yeah, and I think the longest one should be 6. I don't think there's a reason for them to be that different. No, I think honestly just like a 4, 5, or 6 minute cooldown, probably a 4 or a 5. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. I hope you're all well, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for Aloha's health. He's doing good so far. So flip side to the coin of don't get too high on your high horse for clearing the raid tier. My group consistently hit in rage in all the fights we've done so far. Should I be filled with concern? That depends on what you do with that information. If everyone sees that and gradually improves, no. That's the important difference. If you do well enough to beat in rages and never have to worry about the step where you try to improve, that's not good. Because then when you hit that point, you don't know how well everyone in the group even does that. However, if you actually hit in rage on the easier things, everyone has to kind of look at themselves and go, okay, where are my shortcomings? Now that's assuming everyone's personally responsible and doesn't take offense to telling them, oh, well, you know, this could have been done different. And they go, ego. But if everyone looks at their own performance and goes, oh, yeah, you know, I was screwing up my 2 minutes there, or I misaligned, or, you know, I had that one part where I forgot to press this button, or, you know, maybe I was too focused on the mechanic and I was just late. Like, there's all sorts of things like that. If everyone is thinking of improving it and everyone acts to improve it, you're actually probably in a better spot. But it does mean that if there's any sort of tension, it's more likely to snap. So it's a give and take, but I'd rather be in this position than in the position of a group that's never cleared week 1, but blew through the DPS checks, and the next tier comes around and they have no idea what to do to improve or where their real shortcomings are. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. After waiting for 2+ years, I only just found out that debuffs we apply on bosses have a green timer and counter, while anyone else's are white. As a fellow colorblind player, did it take you long to notice this? No, because they told us way back when. Now, I will say them telling us didn't mean I could see it, but at least I knew it. So there is always that. There are other things in 14 that are technically differentiated through colors that I may have missed. I'm sure if I were to think about it, the answer is almost certainly yes. But I don't really think about things that way, so it's hard for me to properly answer. So maybe. Hashtag Happy Mr. Monday with Mr. Happy. And an extra hello to anyone who forgets. Hey, Haps, you doing all right? I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I went through your class retrospective playlist, noticed there are no videos on Samurai or Red Mage. Do you ever plan on making retrospectives for the 2 Stormblood DPS? The reason is no, because even though they have changed since they came out, they have not changed in such a way that it was drastic. By the time Stormblood came around, the dev team had a much better idea of the average design level they wanted for jobs, or at least the average theme. A lot of the themes they set up then have remained the same. Now, obviously, that some cases are not true. You know, Ninja's seen some pretty big changes. Machinist has seen some pretty big changes since then. And obviously there's been, you know, tweaks and things and homogenizations here and there. But Samurai and Red Mage, if you showed someone Stormblood Samurai and Red Mage and you showed them Dawntrail Samurai and Red Mage, like I'm sure they would notice things are different or added in, but they would be like, oh, those still look like generally the same thing. Same job gauges, same overall function, same general gameplay loop, you know, Higginbana going for the Madares and Samurai and then doing the melee combos on, you know what I mean? Like that's still at its core the same. So there's not really a whole lot to say. Hashtag Monday with a Mr. Who May Be Happy. Hello. Hi. So it's easy to hear people talk about if a piece of content is too easy or too hard or whatever, but what are some encounters you think had the difficulty just right? I think most encounters in this game have the difficulty just right. Now, that doesn't mean they're fun. There are some encounters that I'm sure the difficulty is about what you should expect, but that doesn't make them fun. But I think it's really just the last fight in every tier, and the first fight in every tier, I'll say this, where the judgment is a little bit harsher. If the first fight is really easy, then it gets kind of laughed at. If it's too hard, then people complain about it. Second and third fight, people just complain about the overall vibe of the fight, like whether they like it or don't like it. I think some might argue even that P10, for example, is too hard, harder than the third fight, actually, which leaves you to debate, are those ones all mischaracterized in terms of their difficulty? I think they're all about where they belong, maybe just a little out of order, if anything. But it's really the fourth fight where people judge the entire difficulty of a tier. And as such, I'd say that anything that's not that fight, whether it's fun or not, is probably at the approximate difficulty it should be at. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. I'm sorry, that's an R instead of a T. I've done that before. Greetings, Mr. Happy. Hope all is well. Doing all right. Thank you. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the infamous leak which stated Final Fantasy Tactics was getting a remaster. It's been over 3 years and virtually everything from said leak has materialized. Given how well done Tactics Ogre Remaster turned out, stands to reason we should have heard something by this point. I still don't take any stock in that. I think it was NVIDIA leak. A lot of that stuff was like so generically like guessable that them saying it still means nothing. And we also know at least one other thing on that list that has not materialized and still shows no intention of materializing. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy IX. And every year there's somebody who's a reputable source talking about how they're gonna finally talk about 9, and they're wrong every time. So it's like, I just don't take any stock in that stuff because, yeah, well, a lot of it was kind of expected in the first place. So it was kind of just like almost anyone could have seen most of those things coming. And so do I think they'll do this at some point? Yeah. But do I think you can look at the old leak and be like, oh, well, they were right? No, like, duh, they're going to do this at some point, but it's just a question of when. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. I'm going through most of the mainline Final Fantasy games as I enjoy them mainly for the story. The big question is for 11. So worth going through 11 for the story? If so, is there any advice for people playing the story? So I'll say the answer is technically yes. I think it's worth doing up to and through Rhapsodies of Vana'diel. I don't think you need to do Voracious Resurgence, and I think, honestly, what it's asking of the average player is too high for somebody to commit to on average for Final Fantasy XI. That being said, if you cannot tolerate the old school MMO style, it will not be worth it from a suffering standpoint. You are going to need dozens of Wikipedia pages open at the same damn time to know everything that you're going to do, that you need to do, and that you maybe forgot to do somewhere along the way. So a little bit of a pain, but yeah, and of course you have to not mind reading the entire time since there's no voice acting. So there's that as well. But I mean, hey, if you've enjoyed the other Final Fantasy games, that shouldn't be a problem, as most of them require reading and not voice acting. So yeah, it's a time. But yeah, the story overall is pretty good. I think there are some things that are a little overhyped story-wise, but then there's stuff like Chains of Promethea, which is not overhyped at all and is really damn good. Just a pain in the ass to get through, even now. So yeah, I'd say it's worth it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there, Mr. Happy. Hello. Quick question for you. I feel like I don't get the new leveling dungeons much in roulettes. What do you think if they added a new roulette for current expansion dungeons in those ranges and add them to the MSQ roulette? No. There's no point in trying to force the more recent thing, because at some point somebody would have felt this about any of the dungeons from the old expansion. I mean, it's just random. That's all there is to it. They'd rather have everything be in the pool and everything be usable than a way for people to, without making a pre-made at the very least, to just to just only do the more recent stuff, especially because the roulette itself scales with the dungeon. Like the end reward will scale with the lower level dungeons. So your closest option is making a pre-made and turning on limited leveling roulette. And even that goes to up to 7 levels below the lowest level person. So if somebody's 93, you could still get Endwalker dungeons. But if they're 97 and that's the lowest level, then you can't. The lowest level you'd get in that case is 91. So yeah, I know. I don't think there's any reason for them to add a roulette just for this. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. What would be the perfect difficulty for the Eden Ultimate for someone who streams as a job? As a raider, I'm sure it was fun finishing the raid in a day, but must have been a bit of a bummer as a streamer. No, it wasn't. Prog always gets more eyes, it seems. What's the sweet spot? 7 to 10 days. I think any Ultimate that takes longer than 7 to 10 days, it's exhausting for the streamer and it's exhausting for the viewer. There's a reason why people don't sit and watch one person prog most of the time. They bounce around to see when people are hitting their furthest point, because even they don't want to watch 80% of the fight. They just want to watch as you get closer and closer to the clear. So the faster you get closer and closer to the clear. So the first day is really hype. After that, it's kind of normal. And then as you approach your actual clear or a new phase, that's when people tune in. And then as soon as you reach said thing, like for example, you reach a new phase, unless you're the person who's in the lead and you're the like furthest along point for like as like a reference to everyone else, then they're not gonna, then they're just gonna go watch somebody else almost immediately. So I say 7 to 10 days is the sweet spot for an ultimate. I don't think anything in this game should take longer to prog than 7 to 10 days. And that's what I'm hoping for Eden. There was a question that was like 3 different questions. And as I was reading it, it was like hurting my head. Maybe I'll go back to it in the lightning round, but I had to skip it for now. Cause like it was just a jumble of texts that was hurting my head. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. Any particular content you'd be most excited to see for an ultimate, i.e. the weapon series or Ascian themed ultimate? Honestly, there isn't. Like I could joke and say like Gilgamesh. But no, I just want a good fight from literally whatever they do. I don't really care about the theme. I just care that it doesn't suck. So all I'm worried about for Eden is it being good and nothing else. And that's going to be true for every single one that comes later. Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Hi. Sorry for my wall of text on my last comment, and thank you for answering. This one will be short, I promise. Why can't we do unsynced plus minimum item level? The game auto level syncs you, and so it's fun to do all their content while being 100 because of the job changes. I've gotten around to this by using bad gear to nerf DPS. Yeah, my group is the group that actually came up with a list for doing that. 2 of the people, Theo and Nuber, came up with that. Minimum item level, no echo is cool, but it would be nice if it wouldn't level sync. So there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, the technical side. They are simply not made to work together. They were made separately. They were never made to be stacked, and thus it can't be done. Reason number 2, unsynced and minimum item level is way too strong to be doing any sort of content, because minimum item level with your stats as a level 100, your base stats, is insanely strong comparatively. Realistically, it needs its entire own setting that balances your stats to a perfect point. It needs to be minimum stat level. Because if you were level 100 and you were going into, let's say, Midas, and you wore a full set of Midas Bis at level 100, you would be monstrously overpowered because of the extra 40 levels. So it doesn't achieve the thing you think it achieves. It actually just kind of still makes it a joke. So that's why people have their own gear sets, whether it be taking pieces off or putting on specific item level pieces, etc., because that actually balances the challenge to some capacity. So I think the technical side is the real reason it's not done, but I think the second thing that I just said is a reason why they don't even try to technically make it work, because it doesn't even achieve the thing that you might think it does on paper. And other than, I think, a question or two that I skipped, I think this is the last actual question. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello from Brazil. Hello, and thank goodness you don't have Twitter anymore. You've been saved. I have not played the game since Endwalker released. I've not done the patch quest yet. And my question is, as a story-focused player that does not really care about the endgame, is the Dawntrail story good enough on its own to warrant a purchase? Seeing the backlash the story got, and I wonder, because the quality... was it because the quality of the story dropped? Well, no, it's because it was trying to follow up a 10-year cycle, and honestly following up even post Endwalker quest, which for some were very well received. I actually thought they were pretty okay, not like amazing, but were pretty okay. I think it's a mix of things. I personally thought the Dawntrail story was also okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I'm glad to have experienced it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do going forward. And that's the big question, because you're trying to ask about Dawntrail in terms of its initial story content. When you have to consider, it's not like Endwalker where we're going to finish Dawntrail and then it's going to be this kind of like random arc that comes afterwards. We should be looking at Dawntrail and then working towards the true finale of Dawntrail in 7.3, which has been sort of hinted at in some interviews as well. So we're not technically done with the Dawntrail story. We still have several patches to go, and thus it's hard to answer the question because the information's incomplete. That being said, I never think any expansion, even Endwalker and Shadowbringers, I would not buy on story merits alone, personally. Like if I was playing an MMO, I'd want the MMO, the actual longevity, to be good. And I like the story. I love those stories, but I can't get behind the idea of buying an MMO for just the story in the first place. Just that idea doesn't even vibe with me. So that's hard. That's hard for me to say. All right, let me take a look at that question that was like melting my brain for the lightning round. Okay, there was somebody asking, it was like, why are there two different abilities with double check and checkmate? Because they wanted to. They took the single target one and made it AoE, and it's probably better to have two different timers at 3 than one timer at 6. I see in a weapon, a Viper, you get at level 89. There's no die channel. I don't know. I don't know anything about the die channels. I don't glam, so I don't pay attention to any of that stuff. And the last question is, the benchmark, we see Viper and picked out Omega weapons. Yeah, they have top weapons. I don't know if they have O12 weapons, but they have Omega weapons. Yeah, they do have top weapons, but I don't know if their top weapons are ones they put in for Omega or like other, like I haven't even looked at the top weapon, so I don't know what models they're using or if they made new Omega models for those in actuality. I don't know. I haven't paid enough attention to it. Why don't we get for all ultimates? I actually answered that in my own interview. They said that they're gradually adding new weapons for the old ultimates for the new jobs as they go. But like there's a ton of jobs that don't have new weapons for the newer ultimates. So that's something they said they're doing over time. I think there was one other one that I don't think it was melting my brain. I just think I didn't feel like answering it. Let me just go back and read it again. Maybe it just wasn't working for me. No, not that one. No, the BA one's fine. There was because somebody was asking me if something was a bad comparison, and I just like read it and I was like, I don't want to read this. I don't even want to answer it. I don't want to read it. I don't want to do it. And now looking back, I still don't want to do it. All right, but that is going to be a wrap for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. So thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to like and ask questions in the comment section of the video below for next week's Q&A. Hopefully I'll have at least those 2 videos out to you this week, if not more, hoping for more, of course. So yeah, thanks for watching. I will see all of you in the next one. And until then, take care.